Hi there, thank you for joining me. I have a problem, and I'm sure you would like to hear all about the sad story of my life. But this isn't about that, it's about my boat and outboard. My boat is a Highfield 380, excellent craft. Attached to the rear end of it is a Suzuki 30 horsepower outboard. When I first got the boat, the weather seemed to be, this was about 4 years ago, the weather seemed to be a bit different than what it is now. We used to get quite a few nice calm days, and that's when I used to take my boat out. When you're accelerating with this boat, you start accelerating till it gets to about 6 to 7 knots. Then the boat goes up on the plane, which means the hull actually lifts out the water and skims along the surface. And then the speed goes up to 15 knots, which I thought was quite natural because when the boat goes up onto the plane, it will go faster. But then you should be able to throttle back to get the speed you want to go at. But it doesn't, it keeps going to about 15 knots and then just drops back down to about 6.5 knots. So anywhere with speed between 6.5 knots and 15 knots you can't get. When I first got the boat, that wasn't a problem because the water was fairly calm and we just skim along the surface at 15 knots. Fantastic. But I thought, well, we need to take the boat out in a bit more of a choppy condition. And 15 knots is too fast in choppy conditions. It would be like riding a bull at a rodeo. Not that I've ever ridden a bull at a rodeo, so I can't really say it's similar, but I did anyway, didn't I? So there you go. So what I need to do is take it for a sea trial. I don't know whether that's SEE, sea trial, to see what's going to happen, or an SEA trial, because I'm taking it out into the sea. So I guess really it's called a sea trial. I said sea trial. Come on, sea. Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Anyway, just a little bit of a highly humorous interlude. Oh my God. So what I'm going to do is take it out into the ocean and give it a test. In order for me to know exactly what I'm doing or what is happening, I've just installed a tachometer, or a tacho as we also know it. Not the thing that you get from Mexico that you stuff food into. In fact, I don't think you do that in Mexico, you only do that here. God, I'm diverting a lot today, aren't I? Yeah, so I've installed a tacho, which is a rev counter, to just see what revs the engine doing during times in the water, when it's going up on the plane, when it's coming off the plane. It was just suggested to me in a forum that I install a rev counter so I can actually see what is happening. I said see, what is it? Never mind. So I'll just show you the rev counter. So this is the tacho, which I've attached just above the GPS. This is so I can actually, what I want to do is take a video of the tacho and the GPS so I don't have to work out what I'm doing when I'm actually driving the boat. I can actually then go home, look at the video and do the analysis from there. Well, what do I intend to achieve by doing all this, having a sea trial and going out, so I can actually see what revs the boat is planing on, exactly what speed the boat is planing on, because I have a couple of options. One is the propeller, which is just below the screen. The propeller has what is known as a pitch. Let's get a close-up of the prop, shall we? So the prop here has blades on it. The blades are at a particular angle. If you continued on with the angle of this blade and went round in a circle, when it came back again, the distance between where the blade is. Now this is quite easy to explain. I'll try again. That's what they call articulation, I think, isn't it? If you're articulate, you can explain things well. I'm not very articulate. In fact, I'll get halfway through explaining something, I completely confuse myself. But if you continue a line along this blade and go around, where the line comes back again, the distance between there and the blade is called the pitch. Okay, now I can actually change the speed of the boat depending on the pitch. I can put a larger pitch on there and it will probably bring the boat up into a plane at a slower speed. I think that's how it's going to work. Or I can put a finer pitch on there and the boat won't go up on the plane as soon. It'll go on the plane later. I think that's how it's going to work. But what I need to do first of all is take a sea trial, get some figures together, and then figure out what I should do in relation to the figures that I get. The other option I have is ballast. That is to put weight in the boat to slow the boat down. So this is another option that I have. This of course uses more fuel, but then again, if I can't get out into the ocean without doing that, I'm basically going to have to do that. It's a beautiful day out here on the ocean. The water's fairly calm. I'll just spin the camera around so you can see what we're looking at. So it should be a beautiful day to do our test, and I'm going to have to hold this camera. So I've got the speed on my GPS and the tacho that I just recently installed, which I'm happy to say is actually working. At the moment idle, we're doing 960 revs. So I'm going to try and keep the camera on the GPS, which is showing me the speed. At the moment I'm drifting at 2.3 knots. And I want to see what speed the boat goes up on the plane. La plane. Oh, shut up. And then when it goes up on the plane to come back again, I've just done a full speed check. Doing 5,500 revs, and the top speed was 22 knots. So that's pretty good. So that 5,500 is within the top revs for full throttle. I'll now just do a test, and what I want to do now is work out at what revs and what speed the boat goes up onto the plane, and then conversely when it comes back off the plane. Well, yes, I did the test, but just going along with the boat with the camera on the GPS and the tacho would end up being pretty boring to watch, and I can bore you in other ways than that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the figures from my test on the whiteboard so you can see where I'm going. I don't know if I'm going in the right direction myself, but this is the figures that I've worked out. Plus I haven't done all the mathematical computations on the whiteboard because that too would become boring. But if you need them, or if you want them, or want me to show you how I did work it out, I'll be only too pleased to make another video on how I worked out the percentages and so forth. Right, let's get to the whiteboard. Down the left-hand side of the whiteboard, I have here the list of props, or the pitch of the props that are available for my boat. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15 inch. Boating dates back to the olden days, and they still make props in inches. So we just have to deal with it, unfortunately. Now this is the prop I have on my boat at the moment, 11-inch pitch. So if we take that pitch as being 100%, then a 10-inch prop would be 9% slower. A 9-inch prop would be 18% slower. On the other end, a 12-inch prop would be 9% faster. A 13-inch prop would be 18% faster. A 14, 27%, and a 15-inch prop would be 36% faster than the prop I've got on the boat at the moment. Now going over the right hand side here, I was saying at 6 knots the boat takes off by itself. The engine just revs up and shoots up to 15 knots, where I think the rate of knots that I'd really like in choppy conditions is about 10 knots. And I can't get 10 knots because the boat shoots right up to 15 knots. So I want the boat to travel at 2,960 revs, but to do 10 knots, which is currently 3,410 revs, which means the engine is running 15% faster when it's doing 10 knots. So what I need is a prop that's going to give me 15% faster, so that I'm doing 10 knots when I would have normally have done 6 knots. So if you look across here, you'll find the 13-inch prop will give me 18% faster speed. But I think it's cutting things a bit fine. I think I'd like to just move the prop up a bit to give me the 27% faster for a 14-inch prop. So a 14-inch prop there is what I think I should select, so I don't want to get to 10 knots and then find a bit of a wind. I go up to 11 knots and the engine starts going crazy again. So basically what I want to do is just get the speed up to 10 knots, but make sure I'm not going to go, the engine's not going to go and have a fit. So I think using 27% faster would be better. I'd be better off using a 14-inch pitch prop. Now we look at this in another way as well, mathematically. The amount of passengers I'm allowed to carry in the boat could be a total of 640 kilograms. Okay, so you can imagine, well, say this is like gears of a car. When you have gears of a car, a fine prop or fine pitch is going to be like first gear. It'll carry a heavier load, but at a slower speed. A higher pitch will give you a higher speed, but a smaller load. So basically, if I am 70 kilograms, therefore I'm down on the slow load, small load. I am slow, but I'm on the small load end, and in fact 70% is only 70 kilograms, is only 11% of the total weight that you're allowed to carry on the boat. And 11% brings us just about here. So using another mathematical computation, I've still calculated that a 14-inch prop is the one I need for my boat. If I'm going to carry more people on my boat than just me, if I'm saying going to carry 4 people, I would swap back to the original prop. Changing a prop is only a matter of taking out a split pin, undoing a nut, sticking another prop back on and doing the nut and putting the circlip back in. So circlip? No, split pin. So basically changing props is quite easy. So if I'm carrying, say, 4 people on my boat, I go back to my original prop. If I'm on the boat by myself, which is most of the time because I don't have any friends, I would use a 14-inch prop, which I haven't ordered yet. I'm just looking on the internet to find out where to get one from. So there we have it. Well, there we have it. I hope you enjoyed this video and how I selected the prop I need to use, assuming that I've done it correctly. And of course, if you're looking at this video and you can point out something that maybe because I've gone just pure pitch for speed, different pitches might have different amounts of drag and so forth, so my figures may not be completely accurate, but I think you can only work it out mathematically. All the other components that go into changing the speed you don't really know, unless you have one of these computerized things that you can put your hull onto or something. But I hope you enjoyed that video, and as I said, if you need to know how I did the mathematics for getting the percentages, let me know and I'll make another video showing you how to do the maths for it. But stand by for Salty Pete's handy hint. At the end of my videos, I like to give out a handy hint. Just things that I've picked up along the way myself that you may or may not already know about. But this handy hint today is all about the GoPro. So if you don't have a GoPro, this handy hint is probably useless to you. So you may want to depart, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now. But if you do have a GoPro, what, pray tell, is my handy hint? Well, GoPro has this little bracket on the bottom for mounting onto a stand or whatever you have, and it has this plastic screw, or the screw part is actually steel, but the other part is plastic, and you can't really get your fingers on there really properly to do it up tight, and it's very difficult to get it up tight, and then your GoPro is likely to move, especially if, like, I'm in the boat and the boat's jumping around everywhere. We don't want the camera moving. I saw one of these brackets on somebody's motorbike on YouTube, and I thought they can't possibly be doing this up with just this plastic screw. So what we need to do is make up a screw that we can make up or tighten up a little bit tighter than the supplied GoPro screws. Now, to make one of these up, you'll need a 5mm screw, 70mm long. These are all made out of stainless steel, and incidentally I got all these from a company or a retailer called RTM, Road Tech Marine. They have a very good range of stainless steel screws. They're not paying me to advertise for them. That's just that a lot of hardware stores have bits and pieces all over the place, but they have a nice range of screws. Just saves you hunting around trying to find them. Anyway, apart from the 5mm by 70mm screw, you need 3 5mm hexagon nuts and 1 5mm wing nut. Now, to make up this screw, the first thing we do is put the wing nut onto the screw, but we put it on in reverse. We put it on backwards and then screw it up, right up to the head. We screw it up to the head, and then of course we've got to stop. But we want to lock that into position. So now we're going to put another 5mm hexagon nut. I think I'm going nuts. In fact, I think I've already gone nuts. So we're going to put that hexagon nut right up against the wing nut and lock it in position using a small shifting spanner. And in this case, I've got a ring spanner. And I'm going to tighten it up so that wing nut there is stuck onto that thread because we've locked the nut up against it. We're now going to get the other 2 hexagon 5mm nuts and screw them onto the bolt or the screw. We're going to get the original GoPro plastic screw. We're going to wind the nut up so that the thread sticking out is the same amount that sticks out of the GoPro. Having done that, we want to lock these two nuts together. So using an open-ended spinner on the inside one and a ring spanner on the outside one, we can now lock those two in position. Don't use the ring spanner on the inside one because you won't be able to get it off afterwards because the flats won't line up. So there we have it. We have the screw with the wing nut on one end and the two nuts on the other. That means we can now get our GoPro, bring the bracket down, put the bracket on top of the other bracket, and then screw the screw that we've just made into it and tighten it up. And because it's sticking out further now, we can actually get quite a bit of tension on that and it's not going to move. Especially if you've got one of these and underneath you've got another one. If you're mounting it on something else, the plastic screws just don't give enough grip. So this is a handy hint how to make up your own GoPro screws so you get more tension on them and make them more solid. So I hope you've enjoyed my video and the handy hint, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.
The ocean life is what I like, it's where I want to be. Sailing through the rolling waves is the only life for me. I like the sea spray on my face and the beach sand on my feet. Everyone they call me Salty Pete, Salty Pete, Salty Pete.